It's February the 19th, 2018, and we're located here in Taneytown at the Taneytown History Museum. We're going to interview Ray Warehime, who is a son-in-law of the family who owns the Rainbow Roller Rink, the item that we're going to learn about today through this interview. So I want to turn this over to Ray now. And Ray, would you fill us in from the beginning to the end of the Taneytown Roller Rink?
Well, number one, I want you to understand, what I can tell you is from other persons. I can be wrong, and I've been noted to be wrong. But at the same time, this is just the way I remember it. This situation here as the Rainbow Rink is only a part of a picture that is much, much larger. But we don't have all day to discuss every little itty bitty thing. Now, as far as my information goes, this building here is Rainbow Roller Rink, as you see here. Now, when the building original was built by a group of businessmen from Taneytown who started a public park. Year, I don't know. Well, anyway, for some reason they closed, and my father-in-law, George W. Schreiner, along with his relatives, his brother and his sister, bought the picnic park. In that was this building here, this brick building. Now, on this building, the date I can't give you, but on, let's see here, okay, Route 140 was out here, which is now 832. They had two gas pumps. This is a doorway, and they serviced these two gas pumps. They were Sinclair, and a light out there. And this building was built by the people that built or originated the park, is my guess. Reason. Number one is there, up in this corner here, there's an emblem in the concrete, 1936, I think it is. I could be, George has got some papers there. Now in this corner, there is a concrete emblem or sign, says 1939. So what does they mean? I don't know. I have no idea. Now, when they went to the skating rink, we'll back up. The upstairs is all living quarters. Downstairs, the front part here was a restaurant. And there was bathrooms and a pay telephone, I won't forget that. And a soda fountain, of course. And whoever built that had to be with the first owners. My guess. Okay, then Mr. Schreiner came along, and at that time, roller skating was very popular. It was new, and he come up with a rainbow skating rink. I have no idea the plans. I think a gentleman by the name of Feeser was the builder. Memory only. Now, this he had built. Now, there was another small one back here that is where people sat to observe people on the skating surface. The skating surface was 60 by 120. Over here, this little outjut, they had a organ for a player that played the organ for the music. Way over here you see a little building. Now that was stuck on in the very late 40s, early 50s, well, late 40s it was, because I played roller hockey there. And Mr. Schreiner built that on so we'd have a place to change clothes. So that I know. But anyway, the downstairs, which is down here, there was some windows, and there was an entrance way down underneath for service only. Actually, to get to the bowling alleys were down here, incidentally. There was 8 bowling alleys, 6 of them used primarily for duck pins, and 2 occasionally used for 10 pins. And that was interchangeable. All persons was the pin setters, nothing mechanical. Okay. The arches here were built on the floor and then put up. Then one question bugs me is, these walls are perfectly straight. Now, once you made the arch, that meant you had to get it, you could flip it up, but how did you get it from the floor here to here, the base? I don't know. I would love to know how they did this back in the 30s, because my memory says they opened in 1939. I know it was before the war, but you didn't have a lot of equipment to reach from out here to in there to raise something. I don't know. I would love to know how they handled that, just out of curiosity. This, of course, is all blacktop. Then it was blacktop. This was just stone fill. As you can see, they use multiple colors in the light lettering. And this arch here was all neon lights, all different colors. And it was pretty at nighttime. The arches, each arch had colored neon lights. And I don't recall just how they were patterned. I can't recall. But that's about the situation there. After, I was in the service 51, 53. And I came home and, God forbid, my wife had everything set up. We were single at that point. And in 40 days, I was married. I don't think I never seen the license. I don't know how she done it. But anyway, it's legal, I hope. But she's passed on now. So that is pretty much the all that I can tell you at this moment. But
Ray, tell us how you think they might have come up with the name Rainbow.
I have no idea, but my guess is he's seen the arch design somewhere.
Would you tell us about the lights, the neon lights?
Well, neon lights
That's got a little story to it
was
also.
on each arch. Now, and he would have we'll say a blue one here, and a green one, and a yellow one. I don't think they were all one color. And in between each one, he had a little triangle flag. He had stapled, or not stapled, tacked up. The one problem with these arches, but it was a double. It was 2 arches, one over top the other, with a truss arrangement connected them. Dirt. Back in those days, the floor was wood. And in order to get traction on skates on the wood floor, they used rosin. They would sprinkle it on the floor so the wheels would have contact. That created dust. All that dust got up in here among all those trusses. Every year, another fellow and I, we had to get scaffolding and get up in there and clean these dad blame trusses, which was no fun, believe me. But we did it.
And those lights were all curved, weren't they?
Yeah.
Tell us about those.
Well, what about it?
The lights were all curved.
Yeah.
Curved balls.
No, they weren't. No, they weren't. Because they were only so long. They were not, you know, in other words, it was 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
In other words, and that like a series.
But they were like a curve in
Yeah, they followed the arch,
Yeah.
the bottom arch. And they might have had a little curve into it, but I don't think they did, but I won't argue it. But the colors and all, they would turn them, the white lights off, and that's when they had what they called a moonlight for skating.
Tell us about the different kinds of skatings that they had there. Tell us about a night at the skating rink.
Well, you want to talk about a good night or a bad night?
Well, good night.
Okay.
Tell us about a night at the skating rink.
Well, they opened at 8 o'clock. They closed at 11. 50 cents, if I recall correctly, and which was a good bit at that time. And I used to come up. I'm outside of Reisterstown, and a bunch of us fellows would try to get together, and one of us try to get a car somewhere. But if we didn't, 2 or 3 would stand at this spot and go down the road a ways, and a couple was there, and we hitchhiked. And we got up the road. And sometimes we only got as far as Westminster. So that meant walk to the other end, because nobody's going to pick you up at this end. They're thinking you're going to want to just get down to the bottom of the hill. So you, and the same way going home. But people got to know us, and we were okay. But when we got a car, oh boy, we was in. Now, I'm going to throw something else out here. Stop was Frizzlesburg going home, because we had Walter's Dairy Bar. And of course there's always girls being waitresses, and girls draw boys. And of course, we would all stop there and get a milkshake or a hamburger, and we'd go on. And even guys that were coming back to Taneytown, Littlestown, Emmitsburg, Woodsboro, they still came there to skate.
Tell us about a night on the floor. How did things go on the floor?
Round and round. That's the way they went.
Different kinds of skating.
But
different
yes,
kinds of.
yeah, they had times with dances, and it was choreographed. I mean, everybody did the same thing at certain places, and then that was the big thing of learning the dance steps. And of course the organ playing, he played the songs that matched the dances. And we had a good time, and I should have brought my wife's skates along. I still have them. She had what we call detachables. The normal skate was like you would see out on the concrete, clamped on in the front, you know, and leather strap across it. But a few of us had what they call detachables, which was the front hook was made to come over top of the sole here. Back in the back here was a plate, that was a receiver, where when you put them up on there and you flipped the lever, you were locked in. Now, they were very handy because when the floor manager, and I used to help do that too, if we had a disturbance on the floor, they were quick to come off. So you could sort of settle things in a hurry.
Now, some people brought their own skates.
No, not in the beginning. They did later.
They did later.
They
yeah.
did later,
And
yes.
they were attached. The wheels were attached
Yeah,
to the shoe.
you took your shoe off.
Right.
Yeah, you went in. Well, it'd be like ice skates today.
Right.
Or the inline skates. But they did different things on the floor whereby to get you to know each other. One was they'd blow a whistle and the fellow would move up to the next couple. And you got to meet that girl. And that way you got to know more people, which was very good. You got to get around.
And then they had some fast skating too.
Oh yeah, we had races.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had races, of course. And that's normal. But, and like I said, I belonged to the hockey team. And that was a lot of fun. But when I came out of the service, it was over. It had been disbanded. In the 2 years I was overseas, well, not 2 years, biggest part of 2 years. And never got to play again.
Now there was a dress code. You wanted to tell us about the dress code?
Oh, okay. As normal, the ladies always like to show off their skills. And they would do spins like that. But they had skating skirts. Now, the skirt was about halfway from the knee to the hip. And the tops were nothing like you see today. They were covered, believe me. No suggestions at all by their outfit. But the fellas mostly were dressed up. You did not see tattered clothing. I mean, you had blue jeans, yes, but everybody. But Sunday night, it was mostly the men wore suits, and that's something you won't never see today. That's gone. And but you know, times change, and I don't know. It's good and bad for changes. But I don't know of anything else right offhand.
Can you tell us about the organ player?
Well, okay. Prof. Skavinsky was from Emmitsburg. He taught music up there at the college. And he played the organ every night. He didn't come and play on the Sunday afternoon. Every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday night. Saturday night was left open because in the wintertime, they had dances in there on Saturday night. But he was pretty darn good for those days. He worked later on at the underground Pentagon up outside of Emmitsburg. I don't know whatever become of him. Of course, he had a daughter. She was there, and she got married, of course. And I don't know. Now the pin setters, the pins downstairs, there was no automatics at that time, and sometimes it was a little rough getting enough pin setters to keep everybody happy. But we managed, and you know, sometimes you'd have a little discrepancy.
There was a manager downstairs also, and
Oh,
he,
yes,
he
yes.
was from Emmitsburg usually. And he brought his boys in from Emmitsburg.
Well, I
I
can't.
can remember his boys would come in from the Emmitsburg High School. He was a teacher in the Emmitsburg
What
High
was his
School.
name?
Can't recall if
Because that's before my time.
he was a chemistry teacher in the Emmitsburg High School.
See, that's before my
And
time.
he solicited the boys at his classes to bring them along, and they made a little extra money that way.
Yeah. Well, most of the boys when I was working down there, which I only worked to fill in, they were for down around Mayberry. High Millers was one, Cars was another family.
I remember them.
Yeah. But everything went pretty good. It's times are different. We can't go back. Oh, and this, incidentally, this here at one time was bigger and was a grandstand. They played baseball out here. This is before my time. This was when the park. This was before the skating rink and all. But we had a lot of fun. It was an enjoyable and a regulated skating. There was no racing unless there was a race announced. Now, if you didn't behave, the question was, do you want to stay or do you want to go? And if you went, that doesn't mean that you can come back tomorrow night neither. You know, you could be out for a spell. Now, George, I'm running out of gas.
When did this come to, when did it close?
I don't know. I don't know.
What happened when they closed?
George Zim bought it, and he left it for skating for a short time, and I've become disconnected with it, with a family, raising a family, and he started having dances in there on Saturday nights, and he drew quite a crowd. They would have this parking lot full, and they were parking over in the neighbor's field, and the neighbor got a little upset with it. So one night, right before the skating, he brought a manure spreader out there and put it in gear and put it around the edge of his property. Needless to say, some people didn't like it when they parked the car and stepped out.
What happened after he closed?
Well, it's strictly, at the present time, it is a dealer in classic cars. He gets a car and he restores it and then sells it. And let's see, what the heck was his name? You remember, Donna?
Where they had the
It's
cars?
Bill. The second name is flipping me out. But anyway, he's been in this business for a long time.
Where are these cars? Inside?
Yeah. The ones that are restored. Now, he does have, in the back lot there, some cars waiting.
But they're on the skating rink level, aren't they?
Yes.
What's in the basement where the bowling alleys are?
Okay, that's, where they bring to your place something and it inflates it, and for birthday parties and things like that. I don't know what you call them, but it's not the same, let's face it. And the park itself is owned by a group or an individual. I have no knowledge. I've met the people, and they have a paintball area, and that seems to be going pretty darn good. Pretty good. The dance hall is not being used at all, and the barn isn't being used at all, except for storage.
Ray, I think you really covered the Rainbow Roller Rink in Taneytown quite well. We certainly appreciate the time and effort that you put into this, because I know it took a lot of time and it took a lot of effort. And I believe you said your daughter helped you to get some information together and bring some pictures in. We thank you for your time, Ray.